Oh, you've seen Santa Claus personally?
Yes, I live the same city as Santa Claus. There's the Santa Claus village there. The student union is in Finnish law, every university has to have student union, and we do the advocacy work for students in the university level, city level, many different levels, and we take care of the students and make sure they have their rights and the student life is the best that they can have.
So what is kind of like a message that you would want to leave off incoming international students in particular?
Just get involved. I learned that our university does many things very well.
That's going to be the promotional. Our university does many things very well. Terve ja tervetuloa. Welcome to the JYU For You podcast. My name is Irfan and I'm your host with the most glasnost. Today we're joined by the International Affairs representative on the board of the Student Union, Venla Suosalo, who will tell us about her work on the board of the Student Union, explain the structure of the Student Union, and tell us about the cool things that the Student Union does for the students of the University of Jyväskylä. We will also hear how you, as new students and current students at JYU, could actually become involved with the Student Union. Stay tuned. Cheers. Okay, Noni, oletko valmis?
Olen.
Okay, I would also say that in French, but I don't know anything in French. So I'm really trying not to have every podcast start with a discussion about the weather, but I have to go with the weather. Venla, how are you enjoying this weather today?
It's very nice today. To me, it's not too warm, it's not too cold. It starts to feel a bit fall, which I like. So it's very nice.
It feels genuinely like really fresh.
Yeah.
I was just passing up that hill, like right next to that new US market that they opened nearby. Not sponsored by us group, but we like the US market. At least I do. And I was just like feeling, when you exit that door of the store, it just like felt so kind of fresh. That like mixture of fall vibes, almost like you're next to the sea or something like that.
Yeah, it's a little bit chilled. So it's like nice and cold, fresh, but you still doesn't like need really jacket or anything. It's warm, sun is shining.
Okay, but aren't you kind of like accustomed to weather that like, you're from a much colder place than this place.
Yeah.
So you're originally from Rovaniemi.
Yes.
And am I even remotely properly pronouncing that?
Yeah, it's pronounced well.
Okay, great. So I can add that to one of the few cities that I can actually properly pronounce on this podcast. So I'm assuming most people who know about Finland probably haven't heard about Rovaniemi, but they know about the general, Lapland area and whatever.
Yeah.
But Rovaniemi falls into Lapland, or am I completely wrong?
It's Lapland, yeah. Many people actually, they do know Rovaniemi, not maybe a name, but in Rovaniemi there's Santa Claus there.
Oh, yeah.
So they know the place.
I think the Canadians would disagree on that point.
No, they're wrong. I have seen it.
Oh, you've seen Santa Claus personally?
Yes, I live the same city as Santa Claus. There's the Santa Claus village there. Oh,
can you be our connection then? I'm trying to figure out who's going to be the next podcast guest, and I would love to have Santa Claus.
I know an elf that works there also.
Oh, so like a special connection. We can have the elf. Can we also have a reindeer? We can have the trifecta: an elf, a reindeer, and Santa Claus.
Yeah.
But what was it like growing up basically in because the main industry in Rovaniemi is tourism, I'm guessing.
Yes.
And the factory, I guess, Santa Claus's factory.
And it goes to traveling also.
Okay. So what was it like to just grow up there?
It was nice. It was a nice place to grow up. As a kid, there was a lot of nature and it's very quiet because it's not that big city. It was very nice place to grow up. When you grow up a little bit older, there's really nothing else to do. So you kind of want to my case, I wanted to live there. But as a kid, it's very nice. Cold because the winter is almost 6 months. It's very long and cold, but I like it.
What's the lowest temperature you've been in?
Close to minus 40.
Okay, so I guess this winter in January was kind of like, oh, this seems familiar.
Yeah, it's to me, it's a joke because people coming southern or in here, oh, there's real winter in Jyväskylä. I'm real winter? No, it's just winter.
This is winter for amateurs.
Yeah, you want to know real winter, you go to Lapland.
So Does Rovaniemi have a university or something? Were you ever considering to stay there?
There is University of Lapland there. I wasn't considered because I wanted to move out to Rovaniemi, somewhere like close to south, because Rovaniemi is very far, so you can't really live there that easily. So I didn't, and also there wasn't the field that I want to study. So there wasn't like opportunities that I want to do.
Okay, so you said you wanted to go south, but I guess you didn't want to go fully south, so you found yourself kind of nicely in the middle.
Yeah.
And now the city whose name I will never properly pronounce, or maybe in like 20 years. Why Jyväskylä? What brought you there?
Like I know this is a funny story, but after I graduated high school, I applied to a different university, but I didn't get in any university the first try. And then the Jyväskylä was my third option then. And then somehow it's just like stick in my head. I never been Jyväskylä, or I didn't know anyone here. So I was like, I just don't know anything about it. And then I was just thinking, what it's like to be there. And then I didn't get in. So I tried, okay, I will move to Jyväskylä. And I applied a job. I got a job, an apartment, and I moved here. And I have a gap year here. And I was just looking, right, do I like it here? I did like it. And then I want to stay here. So I started to look different, a field I can study here. And I found then my field, economics. I studied economics. So I applied, I got in. And then I stayed.
Okay, so like you were kind of going in a little bit blind.
Yeah, I like jump with unknown.
Okay, that's kind of interesting because I mean you are a local student, but in many ways most international students would say that's kind of their experience. You know, they read about the place, but they didn't have like a direct experience, so they kind of jumped into the adventure. So you say you're studying economics. What year are you right now?
Third year now.
Okay.
Started.
Okay. So why economics in particular?
I consider like social science studies, but then also I like math. And then I feel like I really like politics also, and I feel like everything politics always comes to the economics and the finance. So I find it that very interesting, and so I applied that my major, but also in minor I can study like social sciences in different ways. So I can have a very good combination.
Okay, so kind of like you had this multidisciplinary inclination, and you figured, oh, this seems like the kind of nicest combination.
Yeah. And I like our university, you can really like study what you want and really like find your own special things you want to do.
I agree with that 100%, especially because I guess I took like a slight detour to your guys' department. I took microeconomics, or was it macro? Micro. Yeah, because technically we had the same course and we never bumped into each other. And I did appreciate that, where I could, I studied math and then I could just have like a little casual detour into microeconomics. And I do feel like they have that good combination of exactly, you have a little bit of mathematics there, but to enough of an extent to kind of let you help build an argument.
Yeah.
So to say that you can then later use to form a certain level of policy. So is there like a particular course or experience that you've enjoyed so much in your studies right now?
Like my favorite course was like education. I don't know how to like translate it. Education economics.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, we go like university finance, how when you like educate yourself more level, how that affects your like future income and everything. It was very interesting, and that course was also, we didn't have like final test there, so it was like essays through the course. It was like interesting. You can really like research yourself, and I really like it.
Oh, that's lovely when you can have a little bit of that like independent inquiry.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's also a lovely course for you to take, considering what you're doing, I guess, in a professional sense. So let's kind of like start off a little bit with why you're here today. An interesting thing that you told me when we had a coffee the other day was that even before you actually became a student, you became involved with an institution of the university. So what is that institution, so to say?
The Student Union of University of Jyväskylä.
So now I'm super curious. How did you even get involved with the student union before you became a student?
I don't think I was like involved.
But like aware?
I was aware. I was just like, I knew a lot of people that was in like the student council or the board of the JYY. So I really knew the student union very well before I was even student, what is like maybe a little bit strange. Not many people do that. But I did like know it before. And I kind of also knew before I was a student that I wanted to get involved in the student union and I wanted to get in the board and do the council stuff.
So you're giving us a lot of material to kind of dissect over here. But let's start from the beginning. Yeah. Almost every student is probably sooner or later going to hear about the student union. Partially, this is a reminder for everybody to pay their fee if they want to get some nice discounts. Fortwall a little bit. But what is, in the simplest terms, what is even the student union?
The student union is like in Finnish law, every university has to have student union, and we do the advocacy work for student in the university level, city level, many different levels, and we take care of the students and make sure they have their rights and the student life is the best that they can have.
So kind of fitting for a city that has, I think, one of the highest densities of students in Finland. Like whatever, every fourth citizen is basically a student. So when we're talking about the student union, can you give me a little bit of like a rough rundown? So it's basically mandated by law, but what is the history of it? Do you have any idea like when was this one even founded?
The student union of Jyväskylä is like celebrated 90th year's birthday, so we are very old. It's a very old student union, but the oldest one, I think the student union of University of Helsinki is the oldest. It's very old. I don't really can go that much. The history I don't really remember in this setting, but it's old, and we have done the student union movement. Has done a lot. We have like founded the UTHS. It's it's part of that the student union has accomplish and other stuff, but it's like very long history.
I actually didn't know that like the student unions were involved with like kind of the creation of UTHS.
Yeah.
Can you just give like just for people who don't know, like what is UTHS?
It's like the healthcare systems of students. Like students have to go to the city healthcare. They can go to UTHS their own healthcare.
Yeah, healthcare.
Yeah.
I gotta say, UTHS was one of the nicest surprises that I've ever seen when I became a student here. It's like super convenient, super nice, and incredibly affordable.
Yeah.
So, in what way is the student union organized? Every institution has a structure. What is the structure of the student union?
So we have a board where I'm sitting. That we have 10% there. Then we have the student council. That is like the highest power in the student union. We have 41. Members in there, different groups, and they make the most like the final decisions. Then we have the board, we have 10 people there, and we are working like every single day. Then we have also 7 people working, like we have specialists that work every day in the student union. And then we have also like Soihtu, the student parliament. Then we also have people working there, and also the student council makes the decisions to Soihtu also.
So how often do all of you guys meet? How often does the board meet? How often does the student council meet?
The student council meets every month.
Oh, okay.
And the board meets every week. We have meeting every single week.
Sounds like a fun time.
Yeah, it is.
So about the student council, do you know of any decision that they recently made that you can kind of highlight, or something that you think might be interesting that the student council has done?
We did update our policy paper that student council like decide. I don't know, it's like a fun thing, but we like decide to end our event Euroc. That goes also the student council. It's not maybe the funnest thing to do, but they do decide a lot of like everyday stuff also.
I guess sometimes you got to make those difficult decisions but balance out the funding. So how can somebody become a member of the student council?
We have election every 2 years. This year we don't have election, but 25 fall we have a next election. And you can run. You can go be a part of one of the groups, and it's election. It's like every normal election. You go run, and then people can vote, and then you need a certain amount of votes to be in.
So can international students also run?
Yeah, if you're a member of the student union, you can run and you can vote.
Okay, so besides the ability to run and I guess vote, And we're going to get back a little bit to the voting later. What's another reason why somebody would want to even be part of the student union? Why would somebody want to be a member?
What member? A degree student is a member. Like you can't choose are you a member or not. But the student union, but you can actually really make a difference. And the student union have a lot of like city and the university actually listen to student union. We have like good reputation, and you make very important decisions there, and you can really affect, and your voice is being heard there. So if you want to affect the surrounding yourself in the university or the city, you can do it by the student union.
Based on that little pitch, I feel like that you're giving us a little bit of information why you decided to run to be part of the student union. So how does the election process even work? I remember, from the student side, I remember just at some point in the fall of 2023, random people's faces started showing up a little bit more often. Then at some point we all got a link. And there was this like, whoever did this in the student union, God bless their souls, because it was brilliant. There was that like a election compass for the student union where you could do like a questionnaire and see who like fits with you the most. But that was my perspective from the student side. I just randomly saw people and I was like, okay, this person seems to agree with the things that I agree with, roughly at least, up to a constant. So what was it like for you guys who were actually running for the student union? What was the procedure? What was the process?
The process, like, just like fill a form that you want to be a part. And I think it depends on also at the group where you're like running. Our group did like, we make coffee and offer like almost every day in the fall and campaigning. It was like, to me, it's like normal political campaign. You do it, but also it's not maybe that showing, maybe because also people are studying at the same time, so you don't have that much free time. Campaign, you don't really choose. I didn't personally do that much campaign, just maybe one Instagram post or something, and then fill the form like you can, what you mentioned earlier. Then just going different campus and telling about people. I feel like my campaign wasn't really campaigning myself. It's more like campaigning to students. Oh, this election is going. Did you know that? Do you know what the student union is? So I was more maybe campaigning the student union than myself.
Kind of, I guess, trying to raise, the number of people actually voting instead of necessarily just trying to put yourself out there. But what was your reasoning? Why did you want to run?
I was always one to go to the board. So maybe I was like, this is the one step going there to like being, going to run and maybe getting to the council. But I was also like that fall, I was knowing that I want to run for the board. So it was just a step going there. And also just like, what I was talking about earlier, like I really do want to like make sure the student have better life in here, and the university is the best place to our students. So like those simple things.
But you personally, did you have just, was it just like a particular day when you decided, okay, I'm going to run? Was it like, did you have any doubts, any considerations with yourself, or was it just like a natural thing that was constantly on your mind?
I think it was natural. Maybe we go back that I knew student union before I was in the university. It was like very natural. It wasn't like when I started studying here, the election was like in my second year. So I have like time to think, and it was like very normal thing to do. I didn't really have to think about it.
Did you do any work with the student union before you got elected?
No.
Okay, so you kind of just like had a little bit of tangential affiliation, but then immediately just like jumped into it when you could.
Yeah, I went to the deep end straight away.
Okay, so then tell me just one thing. You're mentioning these groups.
Yeah.
What are the groups? Are those like political parties on like a university level, or?
There's like many different groups. There are political groups, and then there's non-political groups there. And there's 7-8 groups right now in the student union, and there's some political that are like political party groups, and political that's not involved in the party party politics in Finland. And then there's like association groups that are more like, we have like natural scientists, they're more like gathering the natural science students together, or that gathering more like people in the seminariumäki. So there's different groups.
Okay, so let me see if I'm understanding this correctly. Different students come together based on like some ideas or ideals, but that are more related to student life, form a group, and then they kind of have a platform that they're running on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got something relatively correctly. And so currently 7 or 8 of them are represented in the student council.
Yeah, there's 8 groups.
Okay.
No.
Give or take.
Yeah, we can got 7 groups.
Okay, nice.
I was in my summer holidays, so.
Hey, you're fine. You're fine. I probably couldn't even name a single one there, so you're totally fine. But do you have any idea how many like of them were registered in the last election? Because I remember seeing a couple of funny ones.
There was 9 groups. I think there was 2 groups that didn't get any members.
Oh, poor. Well, good. Better luck next time to those 2 groups. So, when did you get into the student union formally? Because the election was in the fall, and when did your guys' term start?
The terms start like in the year change.
Okay, so January 24?
Yeah.
So, what are you actually doing on the board of the student union? What is your title?
My title is like I'm the board member of International Affairs. So I do advocacy work to international students. Then I do work for the European Alliance also, and also a little bit the exchange stuff.
So can you just tell us a little bit about that European Alliance? Because I know some people have probably heard of it, most haven't. What is it? Is that the For Them Alliance?
For Them, yeah. Our university is part of For Them Alliance. So I'm there in like work groups, representative the student union and the student in the alliance. Like we do same kind of advocacy work with what we do in the university, and we try to make the student voice heard there.
But on a European level?
In European level, yes.
Does that pose additional challenges? Because like, you know, every country is probably going to have a different perspective, and then coordinating across the borders.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's more difficult, and also like what the work package are in there. I'm only student, so they're not really student involved another country. So it also a little bit difficult to like be a voice of 9 different universities in Europe. So it's difficult, but also maybe sometimes frustrating, but also very interesting.
Does it offer any additional perspectives to you guys? Do you feel like you've learned something from it?
I learned that our university does many things very well.
That's going to be the promotional. Our university does many things very well. So speaking of doing things very well, so why international affairs?
I feel when I was like doing the gap year, I was working very international workplace, and a lot of my work friend was international students. So I really saw what it's like to be international student also. And maybe also I'm like interested in the EU level and everything. So I find it very interesting. And international affairs, you can do almost like every sector in the board. So it's very diverse, the work what we do. And I feel like in the student union and university level, this international student voice not that heard and not seen. So I hope that I was like very interested that we need to get the international voice heard more. So I have like very like interest to do something there, like purpose, like job that has purpose. And I feel like that sector I can do things that actually matters.
Okay, and things that are actually meaningful.
Yes.
So is there anything that you've concretely done in your position as the international affairs representative?
Like when I started, there wasn't really any data what international students think are different things about the university or the city. So I created this survey to international students to tell what they think. And we got very nice response. We got a lot of answers there, and a lot of like my eyes was open more. And So that's been accomplished. Well, have done this year, and in the fall we're going to continue like using those data and bringing the tables that can like change things and need to be here. What the international student have to say.
Is there anything concrete that you've learned based on that data that you would like to use to implement something?
One of the big one is that we asked, do the international student wants to stay in Jyväskylä after they graduate? Like almost like over 60% say that they want to stay here. But then we ask how they see their work opportunities here. And over 60% say they don't see it very well. It's not good. So that is like big things we have to do to make better. Like there's people want to say we have so much like people that they have they have study here. There's so much things that they can do, and we have to use it. And the city have problem that people are leaving, but many people want to stay. So there's like, what is it called?
Like there's this balance there.
Yeah, but we have to find balance, and city have to do more that the international student can stay here and have the opportunity to work because they do want to.
So that is definitely something that I can relate to and understand because I know from a lot of friends who wanted to stay in the city. Unfortunately, things didn't work out, so then they would end up going to like another bigger city in Finland, like either Helsinki, Oulu, or Tampere, or something like that. So what do you guys hope? So now you guys have the piece of information. You see that people want to stay, and there's like that little issue, that disbalance. How are you planning to tackle that? Are you guys planning to talk with the city, try to talk with the local businesses or something to build that connection? Or is that still kind of like in the works?
It's still in the works, but my idea is to meet the right people. That's the thing, to meet the right people and showing the data. And also not only showing the data, but also telling ideas how they can do that and improve things and hire international students. Yeah, it's just a lot of meeting people, contacting people.
So basically just kind of doing that, like reaching out as much as possible.
Yeah, like in the student union, we do a lot of lobbying. So just a lot of lobbying.
Okay, so you're our lobbyist.
Yes.
Okay. But I was kind of wondering, it's kind of interesting. I can see this parallel, to why you're studying economics, because you said you have that multidisciplinary viewpoint. You want to get some information, process the data, try to make a decision based on that data, and then propose a policy. So it looks like you're quite literally living your own studies in a practical sense. Hey, if you don't have a thesis topic, this might be like a potential thesis topic. But beyond international affairs, when you're a board member, what other things do you have to be involved with?
A lot of things. Usually the sector is kind of nothing you do. The board stuff is the main thing. And even though you have a sector, we all do every sector job. We have the meetings every week. We have like regular meetings, and we go do like basics, everyday decisions there. We do a lot of paper updating, rules updating. We are like going different events and meetings. We meet the city, we meet the rectors, and just going every places and telling what the student thinks.
So does that kind of mean like, let's say I am a student. I have an issue, I have a suggestion. Can I just walk to one of the board members who's responsible to that particular, thing and knock on their desk and say, Mr. or Mrs. or whatever, blah, blah, I think this should be done differently. Can you relay the message?
Yeah.
Just ideally, I shouldn't knock on the...
I think we don't really have our own tables, so I do recommend emailing. Maybe the emailing is probably the best way to contact. But yeah, like we are the student voice, and we need to hear the student. So of course we want the student tell us and meeting us. And if you have any problems or anything you want to talk about, of course you can contact us. We would love you to contact us.
So what are all the sectors that people can contact?
There's international affairs. There, of course, is the chair of the board. Then we have the vice chair. Also, is like business side, working close to Soihtu. Then we have the academic affairs, social policy, communication, culture and events. Then we have city. I don't remember the word in English, but more close to like city, to city policy. and then association and tutoring.
Okay. I guess that's 10.
Yes, if I count it right. Yeah.
I lost the count halfway through. I got thinking about like
And
which-
international affairs, of course.
Oh yeah. I think you got that one twice, but
It's the most important.
I am biased towards it as well, so we can say it another time if it's necessary. But you already kind of mentioned Soitu a couple of times.
Yeah.
What is Soitu?
Soitu is like the student parliament that
Complex.
does student parliament, and is part of the student union. The student union owns that.
So they are the lovely people that make it possible for people to actually live in affordable housing, is what you're telling me.
Yes.
So how much involvement do you guys from the board have with that, or is that more like student council, or do they have like their own separate thing?
If there's like, usually we do like first decisions that we make decisions about Soitu also that doesn't go to the student council if not that big.
Mm-hmm.
But then we also, if there's a decision, we make our like, we think this is the best thing to do, and then it goes to the student council and they make the last decisions. But we do the most important decisions about Soitu.
Okay, so you guys are essentially consultants in a sense.
Yeah, like if Soitu wants to build a new building, the student council have to like decide, yes, we want to make a new building.
Okay, so you guys are the people who are destroying my view.
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. It's convenient. Just for context for people, like I'm in the student village, and I'm in one of the newer buildings that they finished in 2022, and now they're wrapping up another building in 2025. And I gotta say, I'm genuinely impressed by how quickly they're constructing that building. I am disappointed that I can't see the forest anymore, but it is kind of nice to see the entire building get up in 6 months. They went from 0 to hero almost. But you guys don't just do that. There are a lot of events that people might associate with the student union. So what are some of the bigger events that you had the opportunity to involve yourself with the student union?
The biggest one is maybe Vappu. We organize Vappu like when we put our like hat, graduation hat for the statue. Is the student union does that, and we have many events also through Vappu, but that's like the biggest thing.
Can you explain Vappu and Vappu Week?
The Vappu is the 1st of May celebration, and I feel like students just kind of celebrate like end of the semester, end of the academic year, and it's a very big celebration. People celebrate it through the whole week, and there's a lot of different events, and usually we go to the hat, we put the hat and celebrate, and the next day, 1st of May, we go to the picnic on the Harju and have a nice chill day.
I think that's it's one of those very fascinating phenomena where you just have almost a city collectively being the entire country in a sense collectively just being okay, we're just going to relax, we're going to enjoy ourselves. What is the point of the hat on the statue though? Just contextually for people, there is a park, Uno Signos, I guess is the guy.
Usually we're not there because we usually in the Kirkkopuisto putting the hat for Minnakant, but now the city is making the car park place,
garage,
so we can't be there. So we want another park, but I think we are back next year in the Kirkkopuisto.
But the entire point is just sorry to cut you off. It's to put on a graduation cap on one of the two people who had a lot to do with building up education in this area.
Yeah, I don't really know what the history is putting the cap because you do in any university city. I don't really know why actually. I never think about it. I just we just do it.
It's just a thing.
Yeah, we just do it. I never think about why we do it.
It's just like eating a monkey. It's just it's there.
Yeah.
But it's so fascinating. We just have a huge group of people just watching it and waiting for something to happen. So since the semester is kind of starting off relatively soon.
Yes.
And many new students are coming in, both international and both Finnish students. Are you currently involved in any events for that?
I'm going to international's student orientation. Go have a little slideshow.
Okay.
About student culture, but we do have our own events also coming. We have speed friending in 3rd of September.
Okay.
And we have a lot of other events in the student union, you can go look them our website. There's like event calendar, you can see everything. And then also if the association invite us, we go their events also telling about what the student union is.
Okay, so you guys are kind of hitting the ground running. There are a lot of stuff.
Yes, I think the student orientation week is going to be long for us.
Oh, but that's a fun one. You're giving a speech. Is that like the degree student orientation, right?
Yes, degree in exchange international students. Yeah.
That's the what is that? That's August 26th, 27th.
Yes, something like that.
It'll be in the link in the description. That makes everything easier. So you've been in this position for the last 8 months.
Yes.
What is kind of like, have you had the opportunity to reflect on the process? How have you enjoyed it?
Yes, I have. I've really enjoyed it a lot. I do like it, and I feel like when you do the work, you have to feel that I do something important and meaningful. And also maybe sometimes I have a little bit of time to chill and not just going in my calendar meeting to meeting. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Even though it's basically, it's like full-time work.
Yeah, it's full-time. Yeah, I'm not really studying right now. It's full-time job, but still enjoying it.
Do you really consider it that meaningful? Like the work in the student union, that it's meaningful enough to kind of like put the studies in like the back a little bit?
Yes, I do, because also you get like so many opportunities that you don't get anywhere else. Like you're meeting a lot of like big higher people that have like a lot of power, and you getting opportunity to do stuff that you don't get anywhere else. And you get also like work experience a lot. Like you don't really get into this age the opportunity to do like work that specialists do anywhere else. So yeah.
Is there anything that you would have wanted to do differently over the last like 8 months in the work, I guess?
There probably is, but then also like time-wise, I don't know what I would do differently. Maybe sleep more.
I mean, in the context of work, work, we could all use a couple of extra hours of sleep.
No, there's nothing going in my mind. No, not really.
So what is the next big thing that you would really like to make sure that you achieve before your tenure ends?
I still want to make sure that the international student voice is heard in different levels more.
Okay. Can you run again?
Yes, you can run again.
Would you like to keep doing this?
Yeah.
That was like a slight hesitant. Yeah, it's like it's meaning.
You can also do like different level. You can do in the student council, or you can be like student representative in the faculty council or board. There's many different places you can go.
I will be honest with you. I didn't know there was this much of a level of involvement of students in all of these different.
Yeah, we also like have student almost like every level of the university. We have student in the university board and the faculties, and they also come from the student union. Student union elect them there. So.
And I think you also mentioned this to me, off the camera. There are also the student union is also involved with all the student restaurants.
Yes,
right?
We are in the board. We have 2 places in the SEMA board also.
Just context for people, SEMA is one of the providers of the student lunches at the university.
Yeah. So we also affect there. So we can, if there's a problem in there, you can also come to us and we can try make it better.
Oh, so like, are we talking about like special menu requests? Because their butter chicken is really good, I gotta say.
I think you can do that for the restaurant.
Yeah, but what's more effective, me going there or you guys going out a message?
I'm not there, so.
Okay, so I need to talk to that representative.
Yes.
So what is kind of like a message that you would want to leave off incoming international students in particular?
Just get involved. And get involved in the student union. Also, if you have anything that in your mind or something, you feel something is not correct or something's wrong, contact us. We are here for you. I'm here for international students especially. So you can always contact me and always come to talk to me. And I do want the international student come to talk to me, and because then I can like make the international student voice heard and seen more.
I think that's a perfect point to stop. Well, hey, Venla, thank you so much. I really want to say I appreciate the fact that you kind of clarified some stuff about the student union, that it isn't just like, this random place where you're sending your money. It has like deeper meaning. And also, I got to tell you, it's very nice to see somebody in like a position where you can make a difference, but also you genuinely have a desire to implement sort of a difference and also give an opportunity to a community that is still new here to have their voices heard. So you guys have heard it. If you want to have your voice be more directly heard, you have the opportunity to become more involved with the student union once you arrive as a student. If you're already a student, you can run in 2025.
Yes.
Okay, you just got to do a little bit of research on the different groups and everything. And as always, you guys, if you want to learn more about the University of Jyväskylä, you can check out the other episodes of our show, JYU for You, and check us out next week, future weeks, and of course, you can also check out everything in the link in the description for all the information about this episode and future episodes. Kiitos ja moikka. Cheers.